So Gabe Kidd was rude at the start of this week's episode of Dynamite because the commentators were running down what was going to happen on the show when Gabriel did walk out and he pretended to be a clock. He was all like tick-tock, tick-tock. When he started to go, I bet Darby Allin is in the rafters. I was like, Gabe Kidd, we're in the ECW arena. It most definitely does not have rafters. Darby then did appear and these two started to have a big old fight. At one point, Team of the Turnbuckle got exposed and everybody was going into the steel. So Darby went up to the top rope and did a coffin drop when Wheeler Yuta came out, probably to tell us all, I'm turning into the cousin It, and I don't know what to do about it. When Darby, I presume before the show, had put a skateboard under the ring and he'd stuck thumbtacks in it, and yes, he did an ollie off Wheeler's back. I want you to allow that to set into your brain. We are no longer in Toto anymore, Kansas. That's not the line. For some reason, the Death Riders then very slowly walked to the ring. They probably didn't want Darby to do a kickflip off their back when the Hook sign went up and Hook came out when he was totally mugged off instantly by Samoa Joe and his operations because they just rang by. And because we did have a bunch of people in the ring and out of the ring, everybody started to fight, mostly because the Death Riders are a bunch of dickheads and nobody likes them. Samoa Joe's boys really did replace Hook faster than life replaced my hairline, and Willow Nightingale was out there as well. So it is kind of good in the sense that after All In, what wrestling usually would have done would disband the Death Riders, but actually, even though they have lost their world championship, they're still being a bunch of goobers. So the baby faces are like, well, as long as you keep doing this, we'll be fighting back. I believe it's called war. Now, I would like to know when Marina Shafir and Willow Nightingale are going to settle their beef in the ring, because it feels like it's been going on for 47 years. Tony Schiavone made me laugh out loud on commentary, because he was all like, oh man, this is why AEW is so great and unique. Like, that is true, but I was also a bit like Tony. When the show is on, I think you should sell it as, oh my gosh, horrific, terrifying, especially because Gabe Kidd and Darby Allin then fought to the back. Gabe Kidd was going to hit him with a hammer to put one on the crime counter, especially because then Darby Allin reversed it, put Gabe Kidd in a body bag, and he just drove away, and he threw powder in his eyes. Now, I double-checked. I went into my police book. You can't do any of that. So put another one on the crime counter. So essentially, the start of this week's episode of Dynamite was just crime. So this was totally insane, and I am very intrigued what we are going to do, because we just did the big multi-man match at Forbidden Door. I don't think you can get away with doing another one, but we have to wait and see. But when a wrestling show does start, and it turns into Dr. Robotnik, because you just get so much chaos, well, me personally, Simon Miller, how I work into ups and downs, the only wrestling show you need, that didn't come out right at all, I am going to give it an up. Like, we just went. It's like we forgot we were meant to do an opening wrestling promo and everybody just started to fight. But sometimes you do need to get the violence out, which is not a euphemism, and think about the multiple directions you could go. I think overall, there was 47,652 individuals involved. Well, it was indeed Mercedes Mone versus Alex Windsor for the TBS title, which has to be one of the craziest 180 switches ever, because we went from that madness right into a good old-fashioned wrestling fight. And look, Alex Windsor has been brought in as a top guy, so now she feels like a top guy. And imagine right now not thinking Mercedes is doing the best work of her career. Like, of course you're allowed your opinion, but I just do not get it at all. She just has match after match after match in any style against anybody, and at the very minimum, she always has a pretty decent match. Windsor also got a half crab here, which did confuse me because she's most definitely a full human. When Mercedes was like, well, I'm going to reverse that into the backstabber, and we did get a lot of submissions here before they started to fight. I mean, Windsor even got this gnarly sharpshooter into the ropes, meaning she had to break at 5 when we got the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunder Bomb. Did it work? Of course it didn't. It never does. Also, fair play to AEW, because around about halfway through this, Justin Roberts did get on the microphone and said, oh, hi, there's only 10 minutes left, because it was a 20-minute time limit, and AEW does need to do that more, which is why it's good they did do it here, because it got me. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to go to a time limit, but they did not. So now the next time we go to a draw, I will not be expecting it. Blink-182 was singing about this, the small things. Mone then got the backstabber, so Windsor came back with a power bomb, as this was wrestling tennis, and on the outside, Alex Windsor did get a sharp shooter, and it certainly looked like Mercedes Mone was submitting to me, so we have got that visual, and it feels like we're gonna have to run it back. But of course, back in the squared circle, Alex had not had a chat with Danny Garcia, and so when she applied the sharpshooter again, she leaned way too far back, when Mercedes was like, I know what to do because I am an experienced veteran, and she hit the most. Devastating move. In all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and she got the 1-2-3, and she was allowed to celebrate for around about 2 seconds. Now, it did look like they were going to shake hands, but of course, Mone just popped her right in the face, and she applied the statement maker when, yes, the OG Rio returned. She stomped Mercedes Moné so hard, I thought she may have exploded her brain. They had a little bit of fisticuffs, and now at All Out, going back to what we just said, how Mercedes wants to fight everybody, it will be Mercedes Moné versus Rio. And I just think that's some good eating because, again, Rio is an OG character. Mercedes Moné came in, 2 years ago, whenever the flub it was. These are the kind of matches we wanted to see, especially in All Elite Wrestling. When they love doing matchmaking, I'm going to give it an up. It's a good match of the future. This was a really good match. You can't ask for more than that. Maybe free pizza, but what are you going to do? Renee Paquette was then with Samoa Joe, and she wanted to know what is going on with Hook. And Samoa was like, yes, what is going to go on with Hook? When Hook just walked in, I said, well, I'll tell you what happened. I got injured, and you replaced me before my body was even cold. It's like, Hook, you didn't die, man. I think somebody's lied to you. Hook also told them he doesn't need anybody else to fight their own battles, and Powerhouse Hobbs was here, and he seemed to quite like Hook. When Samoa Joe said, listen, it was me, I made this decision, and it's all about opportunities, and I saw an opportunity, so I took the opportunity. I was like, wait a minute. Is that what the op stands for? So it's Samoa Joe and the opportunities, which kind of sounds like a 1970s rip-off band of people that wanted to be the Beatles. Joe was a little bit mean because he was like, Hook, you weren't ready, but Hobbs was ready, so I made the switch. And look, regardless, we are going to look out for you because you're still our buddy. That confused me as well. I was like, what? The ops can only have 3 people in it? We can't possibly expand to 4. And what I would actually do here is I would circumvent expectations, make it look like they are going to be friends when Hook beats them all up and says, I don't forget, man, I'm like a flippin' elephant. I do like the fact we did this, though, because now we have explained that one time Hook did come back, and they looked at Samoa Joe like, I don't like you anymore. But the biggest storyline of 2025 is now going to be why Samoa Joe will not have a group with more than 3 people in it. I tell you, man, I don't care what anybody says. I flippin' love pro wrestling. Ricochet and the Gates of Agony were then here, and Ricochet made it very clear this has nothing to do with AEW Hurt Syndicate. You have been annoying me for many years, and that's why at All Out, we, the future, are going to beat your old asses before we go on to future superstardom. And later on, we saw the Hurt Syndicate, and they agreed to this, and MVP is going to be in that match. I'm giving it an up. I can only presume that MVP doesn't have many of these left in him, so anytime he is going to scrap, I get excited. I also think that will be a pretty good trios match. And eventually you can probably throw the titles in there too. Also want to give a quick shout out to Taz, who did get inducted into the ECW Arena Hall of Fame last night. And bless this guy, because he didn't have it air on TV, had it on social media instead, because he wanted to make sure the stars of today get that television time instead. And while we are here, do not forget that Taz did change the game back in the day. And how awesome has his commentary journey been? I remember when he first started doing it with Michael Cole and he was finding his feet, and now he's just so damn good. So given that he did just get honored, I'm going to honor him in my own way by giving him an up. I mean, who wouldn't want this bald guy to point to the ceiling? But Taz is an all-timer, Taz is a legend, and it's just nice to know that he got his due. This is when Mark Briscoe came to the ring as well, and he was kind of pissed off, which makes sense because nobody's been screwed more than him recently. And he was like, man, it's so good to be here because it was this building when me and my brother fell in love with wrestling. He's still focused on the TNT title, which is why he doesn't like Don Callis at the moment, because he's put all these obstacles up that he has to jump over. When he described Don as a man who looked like he dressed up as a prosthetic penis for Halloween with elements of Elton John in there. And I kind of thought about Don Callis, and I was like, you know what? He does kind of look like that. It's the head. Callis also made it very clear that if he wants a title shot, he has to go through one of the other goobers. So out came Don, Lance Archer, and Rocky Romero. But this was a tease, because instead Takeshita marked to the ring, and now it's going to be Mark Briscoe versus Takeshita on Collision, which is super duper whooper interesting, because neither of those guys should be losing. I mean, I guess Don Callis and the family could accidentally on purpose cost Takeshita, because it does feel like he's going to go babyface very soon. There was also another twist and a turn here, because Don Callis was like, why don't you fight Lance Archer right now, given that you are looking at each other? And bless this Lance Archer, man, he totally gets it, because he played the big man, but Mark Briscoe finally got a win. Of course, Rocky Romero started casting distraction too, so put a 1 on the board, but mostly at the end, Lance was going to go for an avalanche chokeslam. Mark Briscoe's like, no, you're not going to do that. He reversed it. He got Lance on the floor when he hit the froggy bow, and he got the 1-2-3. This is when I doubled down on the fact that Mark Briscoe does have Eddie Kingston energy. I was just so happy for the man. I don't think he will win the TNT title, but good grief, I hope he does. He shall then go on to the weekend, like we say, to take on Takeshita. That's a pretty good 1-2 of matches. I am going to give it an up, just because I pretty much love Mark Briscoe. He is just a good old-fashioned egg. Toni Storm was then in an empty arena from earlier in the night, and I believe she said, I've got it written down here, that she promises to be the most bat-shit bitch to piss in the sink. Just going to tell you, I don't know what that means. She also talked about the fact that the person with all the belts had come to claim her title, but she wasn't able to do it. So really, she's on an island all by herself at the moment because she doesn't have any challenges. So that's why I do have to give it down. I really think that Toni Storm, one of the most over people in the entire company, should have somebody ready to go. It kind of ties into Forbidden Door. I think Athena should have beaten her, and then you go to All Out and you just switch the belt back. You would have got a massive pop in the UK, and you can do a bit of hot potatoing here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. And listen, I'm sure there will be someone who's going to come in soon, but I always feel like you want to keep that momentum going, and maybe we've just lost it a little bit. It's only a tiny down. But it is how I felt, I can't help it. Also, I forgot to tell you, it's National Hood Week, so put your hood up. Renee was then with Harley Cameron and Kris Statlander, who I think now must officially be a team. And Harley was a bit mad because her face got messed up last week, and she's already wearing a mask. She then got so pumped up, she challenged Brodido for a match. Kris was like, wait, calm down. We've discussed this. We are going to face the Triangle of Madness, or we're going to face Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. Harley Cameron is just great. Wheeler Yuta then walked in, even though he'd already been murdered once on this show, and Marina Shafir was here too, and Kris said to them, I got the message, and we're not meant to know what that means. And actually, once again, I would go on my circumventation journey here. I don't know what that means. I would have Kris Statlander join the Death Riders, and then I would have Willow Nightingale team up with Harley Cameron, because then you can do Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale versus Kris Statlander and Marina Shafir. That means we've taken all these stories from the last few months, we've tied it together in a nice little package. But even if we don't do that, Kris and Harley together are great. That's why I'm going to give it an up. Harley Cameron made me laugh. I've decided nowadays that's all I need. I can only presume that Brody King and Brodido had heard this because they were ready to defend their tag team titles next. It was against Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. And I am going to give that a down because, I'm sorry, what have Claudio and Wheeler done to deserve a tag team title match? I mean, most of the year, they've been hammering and whammering in with the trios titles. At the same time, though, I do not care because, one, it is great the tag team division is being shone on again, especially those belts. Brody King and Brodido together are brilliant. Claudio Castagnoli must be one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world. And I just get a mad kick out of Wheeler Yuta. Talk about a guy that totally understands his character and understands what he is meant to do. And if nothing else, they had a pretty kick-ass match. Rise of Death made sure they whipped the Bandit for a while, although you have to see this reverse code red spot, which was the best and most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. And it did lead to the hot tag to Brody, who just squished these guys. Genuinely, it's going to sound a little bit creepy, but I think I could watch him all day. That's why full sentence structure is important. I should have put wrestling in there. But I've done it now, and there's no going back. Marina Shafir then tripped Brodido to put a one on the dick board when John Moxley also walked out, and he was throwing others into the ring post, so that's very interesting. Maybe he's going to go for the tag titles. This is when I started pondering to myself, does that mean we're going to do Gabe Kidd versus Darby Allin at All Out? Because I really think we should get to the mock match sooner rather than later, when the Death Riders did their big swing spot, 1-2, Brody King broke it up. Finally, somebody had told Darby Allin what was going on, so he ran down to fight with John Moxley, so I could be completely wrong, when essentially Brody King ruined some people. Brodido hit the 21 plex, which he did by himself, and he got the 1-2-3. I thought that was a good finish because it shows the tag team champions can win in many ways, and I am giving it an up. I mean, Brodido or Bro Bandando, whatever the hell you want to call them, are so damn good together. So fair play to Tony Khan for making that decision at Forbidden Door. It was the right flubbing one. Renee Paquette was then talking to Okada about the sexual tension between him and Takeshita, but he did not say sexual, and I regret saying that. And Okada was like, listen, he calls himself the Alpha, but I'm the Rainmaker, and he's nothing more than a bitch. So yeah, Takeshita is telling Babyface in around about 2 minutes. This was totally fine as well, but I do have to throw another down in there because we were talking about the Don Callis family. I was like, where the flub is Wardlow? I don't think he was on this entire show at all, and he still hasn't cut that post-Forbidden Door promo. I mean, I would like to know where he was and why he did come back. I find that one a bit strange. I'm hoping it's just an oversight. When I just want to say how much I love FTR, because Adam Copeland made his entrance. I was so excited because him and Christian Cage promos the last few weeks have tickled me in my tum-tum, which once again sounds terrible. But Cash and Dax decided on this evening, us fans are getting nothing. They jumped Adam Copeland, meaning Christian Cage had to run out early to try and make the save. So the heels took away a good thing I wanted to see. That's some good old-fashioned wrestling. This was a mad brawl as well, and Dax even got busted open the hard way, I think, when the useless wrestling security ran out to calm it down. So wait a minute, these aren't useless wrestling security guards, it's the Ring of Honor roster. That's when Jordan Oliver got taken out, and Adam Priest, who of course had taken on FTR the weekend, he started throwing fists, and he got an Adam Priest chant, so this was all going off. Also, as a smaller side, over WrestleMania weekend, I was in a multi-man match that featured Adam Priest. I didn't win and I didn't lose, but damn it, you gotta give me something. We also saw FTR and Stokely Hathaway in the back afterwards, and Stokely Hathaway was so damn mad when they found Adam Priest and they set up another tag team match for Collision, so clearly we're about to push that guy, and all of this just worked because it was so damn intense. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage look like they want to kill these guys, Cash and Dax look like they were having a meltdown, and we still have a couple of weeks to get that promo time in and maybe make it a little bit more serious wearious. I am going to give it an up. It goes back to that old adage, wrestling doesn't have to be complicated, man, and you can keep it damn simple. When we just got to this insane main event featuring Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Jet Speed taking on the Young Bucks, Carl Fletcher, and Josh Alexander. You just have to go and watch it. There's nothing I can say, there's nothing I can do, but if you do want to feel great in your Tootsie Toes, think about it this way. A lot of these people helped change wrestling over the last few years, and now they were just getting into a big old brawl. I absolutely adore the Young Bucks as well, because not only when they came out and did their lower third say, oh, not these guys again, but they had actually done $20 meet and greets before the show, like they were back on the indie scene. Now, as ever, you can like or hate whoever you do choose, but I just don't get it when it comes to Matt and Nick Jackson. They just understand every single part of wrestling, including goofy wrestling for life. They are some of my favorites. Of course, there's more story beats here as well, because you had Hangman and Kenny Omega teaming for the first time in 2 or 3 years, and there was the big spot halfway through when the Young Bucks were on one side of the ring, and Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega were on the other, and they started to fight, and this place went crazy when we had so many Meltzer drivers or TK drivers, and when you were using Barry Barricade. You should really go and watch that sequence. Nick Jackson must have taken an energy drink before this match. I mean, fair play to everyone involved here. They are some talented wrestlers. And as always, if you want to go, it was just a PWG match, on national television, it was. And how the flub is that a bad thing? Josh Alexander was just killing people with Germans as well. I don't mean the people from Germany. I mean, he was doing these mad German suplexes and crushing people's necks. And Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey were just flying around the place. And you got to put 76 on the dive counter. I mean, no, we'll put 4 on the dive counter. But they were diving like their lives depended on it. To be fair, they were in there with some insane people, so maybe it's true. There's also this really great bit when Mike Bailey saved his friend by doing a poison rhino off the top rope. But when he turned around, he just got annihilated with a super kick party. It's like, that is a great sort of analogy for life, because one moment you're up, and then you're down, and nobody knows more about ups and downs than me. That's also when Carl Fletcher flew in there and hit the brainbuster onto Kevin Knight, when he got the 1, 2, 3, and I like that, because it feels like we're about to do something big with Carl, as we'll talk about in just 1 second, but I want to make it clear. I have flown through this match way too fast. If you want to watch 25 minutes of some of the best wrestlers in the world just doing their thing, you should check this out. And even though it makes me sound like a massive nerd, what a pleasure and what a treat it is. This was just broadcast on free national television, because there was a time when we wouldn't have got it. The sad part after this is the Don Callis family murdered Hangman Adam Page in horrible ways using chairs, which in no way should a human being have to go through, when once again Carl Fletcher grabbed Kenny Omega and gave him this death brain buster in a table on the outside. And the doctors came out and we kind of sold this like Kenny Omega may be going away for a while. And listen, everybody does say he is a bit banged up, and he looks a bit banged up, so I just hope he is okay, and he should come back whenever he is ready. I mean, talking about wrestlers that have given everything for our entertainment, he is probably right up there. Hangman sold this really big as well, though, and he looked concerned, and like I say, it kind of felt like Carl Fletcher's going to be thrown into the mix, but it could make all the sense in the world. Because if we are building to Mark Briscoe versus Carl Fletcher, and now Hangman has a problem with Carl Fletcher, do you know who's also involved with Mark Briscoe and Hangman? It's MJF. So there's your 4 people. So this may actually be some damn decent long-term booking. Now listen, I am going to give everything else an up, including the post-match angle, because it made me go, oh no, Kenny Omega, please be okay. But I just said his name. I do have to give it down to the fact that I don't think even MJF was mentioned once, and why wasn't he on this show? Like, I'm sure there was a valid reason, but somebody should just go, oh, that Maxwell Jacob Freeman, and maybe they did, but we should have just made a bigger deal about it. He is one of your biggest stars. He should be like Poochie Man. When he's not around, everybody else is asking where he is. I also love the fact that Don Callis' family are now rising to the top as the dominant stable. So yes, it was a fantastic end to Dynamite, and overall I am going to give the show an up. I said this on my social media, cheap plug Simon the 316. I actually get excited about AEW being in the ECW arena because it ties into my nostalgia nerd gland. And I think we've got one more there. That's more than enough. We can move on. So overall, decent episode of AEW. And All Out, which I will be attending, by the way, is going down in like 2.5 weeks. It should be a pretty good time for all. Now, of course, please do drop me a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's episode of Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is Ups and Downs from Monday Night Raw, where we will talk about AJ Lee. But otherwise, my friends, keep the power of positive wrestling alive, because wrestling is there to entertain you and nothing more. This bald idiot, see you soon.